To encounter a true Cubist wood carving, time seems to fracture. Those angular planes cutting across the grain, the deliberate dissonance of viewpoints, the way the material's natural warmth collides with avant-garde geometry. This isn't mere sculpture, it's a visual revolution carved in oak and walnut, where Picasso's radical vision meets the ancient art of woodworking to create something startlingly modern yet profoundly organic. Cubism in wood begins with a fundamental rebellion against the material's nature. Where traditional carving follows the grain, Cubist works defy it, slicing across growth rings with calculated disregard to create fragmented perspectives. The best pieces make this tension their strength. The contrast between wood's natural flow and the artist's geometric intervention becomes part of the dialogue. A single block might yield a face viewed simultaneously front-on and in profile, with the wood's own narrative of growth adding a third temporal dimension to the spatial experiment. Material selection becomes counterintuitive in Cubist woodwork. Instead of seeking flawless, straight-grained stock, artists often prefer wood with dramatic figuring, burled maple with its chaotic swirls, spalted beech with its lightning strike patterns, or knotty pine where natural imperfections can be exploited as intentional design elements. These flaws become assets when fractured through Cubist treatment, creating visual surprises where a sudden knot might represent an eye or a bark inclusion transforms into a cheekbone. The wood's history thus collaborates with the artist's vision rather than submitting to it. The carving process itself resembles architectural construction more than traditional sculpture. Artists work from multiple reference points simultaneously, sketching orthogonal projections on all sides of the block before making the first cut. Tools range from razor-sharp Japanese chisels for clean geometric facets to aggressive angle grinders for sweeping planar cuts. Some carvers use bandsaws to make initial Cubist rough cuts before refining surfaces, while purists work entirely by hand, letting the chisel's path introduce subtle variations that prevent mechanical sterility. The magic happens in those intentional imperfections, facet edges left slightly uneven to catch light unpredictably, or tool marks retained as tactile reminders of the human hand behind the abstraction. Surface treatment elevates Cubist wood carvings from mere exercises in form to profound material statements. Some artists bleach sections to heighten contrast between planes, while others use controlled burning to create value differences. The most daring might apply translucent stains, allowing the grain to show through but in altered hues that help differentiate adjacent planes. For outdoor installations, a clear marine epoxy can preserve sharp edges against weathering while creating intriguing light-reflective qualities. The finish often varies across different facets: matte on vertical planes, satin on diagonals, high gloss on horizontals, enhancing the Cubist play of perspectives through tactile variation. Scale dramatically affects how these pieces communicate. Small tabletop carvings create intimate encounters where viewers must move around the work to appreciate the fragmented viewpoints. Life-size human figures in Cubist would become startling presences, simultaneously familiar and alien in their geometric disassembly. Monumental installations might transform entire tree trunks into towering Cubist sentinels, their height allowing the style's multiple viewpoints to unfold gradually as one walks past. The largest works often incorporate negative space as an active element. Voids carved through the mass become integral to the composition rather than mere absences. The emotional power of Cubist wood carvings stems from their paradoxical nature. There's intellectual satisfaction in parsing how the fragmented planes reconstruct into recognizable forms, but also visceral pleasure in the material's warmth, that fundamental woodenness persisting despite the radical treatment. Unlike cold metal or stone Cubist works, wood versions retain an organic immediacy that softens the style's inherent cerebral quality. A Cubist oak portrait might fracture visual reality, but it still smells like a forest after rain. Contemporary artists are pushing Cubist wood carving into thrilling new territories. Some incorporate mixed media, perhaps metal inlays that continue the geometric lines beyond the wood's edges, or glass inserts that play with transparency within solid forms. Others experiment with kinetic elements, carefully balanced Cubist components that rotate to reveal ever-changing planar relationships. The most avant-garde might combine digital fabrication with hand carving, using CNC routers to establish precise geometries before finishing surfaces manually to retain organic vitality. Displaying Cubist wood carvings demands thoughtful consideration of environment and lighting. Neutral white walls allow the complex forms to speak clearly, while dramatic spotlighting enhances the play of facets and shadows. Some installations benefit from mirrored bases that multiply viewpoints literally, creating infinite regressions of fractured geometry. Outdoor placements introduce the element of changing natural light. Morning sun might emphasize one set of planes, while dusk reveals entirely different aspects. For collectors, Cubist wood carvings offer unique rewards. Unlike more literal sculptures, these works reveal new relationships and interpretations over years of viewing. Their complexity prevents visual fatigue. You can't solve them in a single glance. The wood's natural aging process adds another layer. Subtle color shifts and patina development that make the pieces evolve while maintaining their essential character. In an art market flooded with digital reproductions and mass-produced decor, hand-carved Cubist works represent authentic, irreproducible artistry. The creative process behind these carvings is as fascinating as the finished pieces. Artists often begin with exhaustive studies, drawing subjects from every conceivable angle before deconstructing and recombining those viewpoints in wood. The translation from sketch to sculpture involves constant decision-making. Which planes to emphasize, where to simplify, how to balance abstraction with recognition. Unlike clay modeling where additions are possible, wood carving is subtractive. Every cut is permanent, demanding absolute commitment to each artistic choice. This necessity breeds extraordinary focus and skill. Cubist wood carvings ultimately challenge our fundamental ways of seeing. They ask us to hold multiple perspectives simultaneously, to find wholeness in fragmentation, to appreciate both the material's natural beauty and its radical transformation. In a world of instant digital imagery, these painstakingly crafted physical objects remind us that reality is always more complex and more beautiful than any single viewpoint can capture. The wood, with its centuries of growth rings and unique grain patterns, becomes the perfect medium for this exploration, its own history of layered time mirroring Cubism's layered spaces. There's a reason Cubist wood carvings stop us in our tracks. They speak the visual language of our times while remaining rooted in ancient material wisdom. These striking works capture the essential paradox of contemporary life, our simultaneous longing for organic authenticity and our comfort with fragmented digital realities. The modern magic of fractured grain. Unlike stone or metal, wood brings its own living history to Cubism's geometric revolution. Growth rings become composition lines. The tree's natural patterns converse with the artist's angular cuts, creating dialogues between nature's chronology and human intervention. Grain direction defies facets. Watch how wood fibers flow across carved planes, sometimes aligning with the geometry, other times rebelliously crossing it. A quiet tension that gives these pieces their vitality. Texture contrast. Smooth polished facets abut rough-hewn surfaces, mirroring our own experiences of friction between digital polish and material reality. Why wood elevates Cubism? This marriage of movement and material works because warmth meets intellectualism. The cerebral nature of Cubism softens through wood's inherent warmth, making challenging compositions feel approachable. Tactile mathematics. Sharp angles become more compelling when you can run your fingers along the precise edges and feel the artist's decision-making. Living abstraction. Unlike static materials, wood continues to move subtly with humidity changes, ensuring the piece never looks exactly the same twice. Contemporary masters' innovations. Today's artists are pushing boundaries by playing with scale, creating towering public installations where viewers can physically walk through Cubist forests of intersecting wooden planes, incorporating negative space, using carefully carved voids as essential compositional elements that change with daylight angles, layering species, building up contrasting wood types to emphasize different facets through natural color variations. How to truly see a Cubist wood carving. Next time you encounter one, circle slowly. Let the work reveal its different personalities at each viewing angle. What seems chaotic at first often resolves into multiple coherent perspectives. Follow the light. Notice how morning versus afternoon illumination creates entirely different shadow patterns across the facets. Seek the aha moment. That instant when fractured planes suddenly coalesce into recognizable form is Cubism's magic trick, and what makes it feel like a shared discovery between you and the material. The enduring appeal. In our screen-dominated lives, these carvings satisfy deep needs we've forgotten we had. Tangible complexity. A physical manifestation of our multifaceted existence that we can actually touch. Analog algorithm. Proof that intriguing pattern recognition doesn't require digital interfaces, just human eyes engaging with crafted material. Time made visible. Both in the tree's growth rings and the artist's painstaking process. From small desktop sculptures you can turn in your hands to room-sized installations that turn viewers into moving parts of the composition, Cubist wood carvings continue to prove that the most radical art often emerges from deep respect for tradition. They remind us that seeing isn't passive, it's an active process of reconstruction, and perhaps, in their fragmented way, they offer the most honest representation of how we actually experience our beautifully fractured world. The wood waits, the angles beckon. All that's missing is your perspective to complete the equation.